Welcome back. More shocking details unveiled from the Twitter files. Independent journalist Barry Weiss revealing how the social media giant secretly blacklisted conservative tweets and users. Weiss highlighting the account of Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who was placed on a, quote, trends blacklist because he said that COVID lockdowns would harm children. And they did. Fox News personality Dan Bongino slapped with a search blacklist tag, limiting Twitter users' ability to actually find his account. Weiss ending the thread, tweeting, quote, "We're just getting started on our reporting. Documents cannot tell the whole story here." Joining me right now is the New York Post columnist and Fox News contributor, Miranda Devine. Miranda, great to see you. Thanks very much for being here this morning. I know they blocked the New York Post, obviously, from reporting the Hunter Biden story. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm just very grateful, I think, to Elon Musk for opening up the files and showing us the inner workings of Twitter's censorship regime. But we need to remember that this is not just happening at Twitter. This is happening at Google. It's happening at Facebook, YouTube, probably across the board. If you remember the FBI, when they were giving these bogus briefings before the 2020 election to the big tech platforms, about, Russian disinformation, aka the New York Post's impending Hunter Biden, Joe Biden story. They went to about 7 different platforms, including Reddit. So this is a censorship, a biased regime that is across the board controlling our thoughts, our ideas, what we see, what information we have access to, and they are biased in one direction. That was what was so stark about the material that Barry Weiss released last night, was that it was all conservatives. It was all people who dissented from the Biden administration's, the federal government, even during the Trump time, whether it be the CDC, Anthony Fauci, whatever the regime's decisions were, anyone who dissented ended up being banned, blocked, shadow banned, throttled, you name it. And this is so corrosive, particularly Jay Bhattacharya, an eminent physician who just had some very sensible, based in science, recommendations for protecting the elderly and the infirm from COVID and allowing younger people who are not at risk to go about their business. And he also warned about the dangers outweighing the benefits of giving COVID vaccines to children. And all of that was suppressed and ignored, and people died because of it.
It is so disturbing, Miranda. And one point that I've been making on this program now is the fact that after the Obama administration stepped down, a number of Obama officials went to work at all of these social media companies. They got big jobs and they got stock in Google and Twitter and Facebook, and they ended up with big jobs at these companies. So these are not journalists running these companies. These are political hacks. These are people with an opinion and following the Democrats' ideology. The problem is these are huge companies, and they've had a huge impact on censoring the American people.
They're huge companies, they're globalist companies, they're oligopolies, they're accountable to nobody. And you mentioned that to and fro between the Democratic Party and the big tech companies. It also goes the other way. If you remember when Joe Biden won the election, he had a whole lot of Google and other executives come and join his administration. There's also cross-pollination between the FBI and these platforms. We know that James Baker, recently fired by Elon Musk for trying to intervene and censor the Twitter file dumps that he'd ordered be done. He was the Twitter lawyer. He was the former top lawyer at the FBI during the Russia collusion hoax. And there are others at Twitter who were in control of content moderation also turn out to have worked for the FBI and the CIA. This is a massive surveillance operation and a psyops operation at the big tech platforms. How involved the deep state is, We don't know. But we know that their intent is malevolent and that they are trying to exercise mind control on Americans to make them vote a certain way, to make them believe certain things.
Yeah. And you know, the Baker element here is a really important one because he was pushing the Russia collusion lie, even though the FBI had no evidence of any collusion with Trump. They knew that. And so did the spies who lied, as the New York Post put it on the cover. Those 51 intelligence people who signed their name to call it Russian disinformation. It was John Ratcliffe who came on this program right after they signed that letter and said, absolutely not. Yeah. He was a sitting director of national intelligence, and he came on and broke the news and said, this is not Russian disinformation. And yet they pushed it and pushed it, which is why, because I was so aggressive in saying there's no collusion here, I was attacked, and I'm sure shadow banned as well. So where do we go from here? Yeah. What I'm hearing, Miranda, and I'd love to know what you think how this is going to play out, but what I'm hearing is that the Republicans are planning to dismantle the FBI in the new 118th Congress. They're going to bring in outsiders in to assess how the FBI became so politicized, and they're going to try to dismantle it and start again. Where do you think this goes?
That's a pretty large task when you haven't got a huge majority just in the House. But look, good on them. I hope that they succeed if that's their aim, because I think the FBI is so corrupt. It's very difficult once an organisation has been captured like that to reform it from the inside. It doesn't matter who goes. You know, you can replace Christopher Wray, it wouldn't make any difference. But I think that even more important than that, for starters, is that the Republicans have to get control of big tech. I don't know how they do it. I know that Ted Cruz is on top of a lot of the Google manipulations, but we've known since 2020 that Google's been manipulating search in favour of, you know, Democratic candidates, and nothing's been done about it. You know, nothing was done about it even when the Republicans controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House. So someone in the Republican Party needs to get serious and think about legislation, think about what they can do to break up big tech's power. Yeah,
Dagan, jump in.
Miranda, and I don't mean to make light of what Twitter did to the New York Post, the censorship, and what we're continuing to find out about Twitter. But I was thinking about it last night, and it feels like we're all kind of standing around this, staring into this small bucket of sand and yelling into this little pail of sand while we're standing in the middle of a desert that's controlled by Google and Amazon and Apple and Facebook, meaning that, as you said, this is an oligopoly. I call them the four horsemen of the apocalypse in terms of how these four giant technology corporations control every facet of our lives. And Google, not just through search, but if Google decides to deplatform your business that's online, you can't serve advertisements, you're gone. If Apple decides to remove your app from the App Store, your business is over. And if Google and Apple work in cahoots with one another, along with Amazon, which they did with Parler, you're done.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. This is outside of government and the FBI, and I don't know what government can do at this point, because they stood idly by and allowed these companies to get this big and accumulate this much power.
And, you know, you're seeing the pressure that's being put on Elon Musk at the moment by the Biden administration, the threat of various investigations, Janet Yellen, Apple and Google threats to deplatform Twitter from their app stores.
Right.
You're even getting pressure from the EU on Twitter. So, you know, I assume that Elon Musk has material that he's held in reserve that would be really damaging if he released it, that maybe is going to protect him. I hope so, and I hats off, admiration to him for what he's done so far. I wish there would be more, particularly about the FBI involvement, but I don't know what can be done. I mean, that's something we've all got to think about.
I had a really
very disturbing.
Very
disturbing.
I was being a gentleman who drives me to work sometimes in the morning. It's just very interesting. People are very in touch with what's going on. He drives a Tesla, and he refuses to use any Google products, even Google Maps, in the car. And so there is a great business opportunity for Elon Musk and people who don't trust a Google or don't trust an Amazon, but really do have great trust, which is hard to quantify, in an Elon Musk. And he's continuing to build that by releasing this information. And it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. Miranda, it's great to have you on the program today. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Maria. Thanks, Dagan.
All right, Miranda Devine joining us.